The stars hung silently in the void, countless and cold. Among them, a single human ship moved like a shadow, its engines whispering in the emptiness. No one knew it existed, not the vast empire that ruled the nearby systems, nor the fleets that patrolled the outer colonies. Humanity, once thought weak, now had a secret weapon, the forgotten prototype. Inside the ship, Captain Mara Vey stared at the holographic map that floated above the console. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with determination. She had trained for this moment her entire life, though she didn't yet understand the full power that rested in her hands. "This is it," she whispered, almost to herself. "Everything changes tonight." Below her, the prototype waited. It was a sleek, black craft, almost alive in its design. Its surface shimmered with strange energy, far beyond anything the Empire had ever seen. Scientists on Earth had built it decades ago, then abandoned it when humanity had nearly lost hope. It was forgotten, hidden deep in a secret station. But now, humanity had no choice but to bring it back. Mara's calm crackled. "All units, report." Her voice was calm, but inside, adrenaline coursed through her veins. "Alpha Squad, in position," a soldier replied. "No sign of enemy patrols." "Bravo Squad ready," another added. Mara nodded. Timing was everything. The Empire had grown careless, believing humans were nothing more than weak, scattered survivors. They had overextended their fleets across countless systems, leaving gaps that only someone desperate, or crazy, would exploit. And Mara was both. The first lights of the Empire's capital system came into view. Massive ships glided through space like metal sharks. Their engines glowed red, a warning to anyone foolish enough to approach. Mara's ship dipped into a nearby asteroid field. Shadows swallowed them as they moved silently toward the fleet. Inside the prototype, systems activated one by one. Holographic screens flickered, showing the energy signature of the Empire's ships. Mara's heart raced. This was the moment when legends would either be born or die. "Prototype ready," her engineer said. "All weapons calibrated. Cloak active." "Good," Mara replied. She clenched her fists. "Let's make them remember humans." Time seemed to stretch. The first enemy scouts passed by, unaware of the deadly machine that followed. Mara held her breath. The prototype hummed softly, as if sensing her anticipation. Then, with sudden precision, the attack began. Energy beams shot from the prototype, invisible at first, slicing through the hulls of the Empire's ships. Alarms blared across the enemy fleet. Mara's heart leapt. The Empire had never seen anything like this. From her position, she watched the ships scatter in chaos. Smaller craft tried to escape, but the prototype moved faster than any human ship or Empire vessel. It struck again and again, each attack deliberate, each strike perfect. Mara couldn't stop the smile that crept across her face. Humanity's forgotten dream was alive, and it was unstoppable. Suddenly, a massive battleship turned toward them. Its cannons fired, red bolts of energy screaming across the void. Mara ducked instinctively as the ship shook. The prototype's shields flared, absorbing the blast. "Counterattack," she ordered. Her voice was steady. Inside, her mind raced with fear and excitement. This was the Empire at full strength, but she knew something they did not: the prototype could adapt. It did. The massive battleship staggered as the prototype unleashed its hidden power. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, tore through the enemy hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash, sending fragments into the darkness. Mara's team cheered, though they stayed hidden, knowing the Empire's main fleet still loomed. A comm alert sounded. Mara's heart skipped. "Incoming transmission, Empire Admiral Zorak." The hologram appeared, a tall figure in a sharp uniform, his face cruel and unreadable. "Humans," he hissed. "You dare attack the Imperial fleet? You will be crushed. Surrender now, or all your worlds burn." Mara's lips pressed into a thin line. "We don't surrender," she said. "We fight. And tonight, humanity remembers what it means to survive. The transmission ended, leaving silence in the void. Mara turned to her crew. This is just the beginning. Humanity has been silent for too long. Now, we strike back. The stars sparkled cold and indifferent, but inside the prototype, energy surged like a heartbeat. The forgotten prototype had awakened, and the Empire would never forget it. Mara's voice carried over the ship's comms, steady and powerful. All units, follow me. We bring the fight to them, and we will not stop until humanity rises. As they moved deeper into enemy territory, a strange excitement filled the crew. Fear mingled with hope, danger with opportunity. The galaxy had long written humans off as weak. That mistake would cost them everything. And somewhere, in the darkness of space, the first whispers of a legend began to stir. A legend of a species that would rise from the ashes, not to beg or plead, but to fight, and to win. The aftermath of the first strike left the Empire fleet in chaos. Smoke and sparks floated through space where their ships had once glided, proud and powerful. Mara's crew watched silently from the shadows, knowing the Empire would not forgive such a humiliation. "Status report," Mara commanded, her eyes scanning the holographic displays. "All enemy ships in this sector damaged or destroyed," her engineer replied. "Prototype operating at maximum efficiency. But sensors show incoming reinforcements." Mara's jaw tightened. She knew the Empire could summon fleets from neighboring systems within hours, maybe minutes. They had struck first, but now the real test began. The forgotten prototype had revealed itself, and the Empire would respond with everything it had. "Prepare for intercept," Mara ordered. Her voice was calm, but her mind raced. Every move now had to be precise. One mistake, and not only their lives but the hope of humanity could be lost. The crew worked in tense silence. Each soldier checked weapons, loaded cannons, and monitored the sensors. Every flicker on the holographic displays drew their attention. Even the smallest blip could mean a trap. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Then, from the darkness beyond the asteroid field, a new wave appeared. Faster, larger, and more organized than the last. Mara's eyes widened. These ships weren't just scouts, they were the Empire's strike fleet, their pride and deadly force. "Targeting vectors locked," her engineer said. "They're coming in hard and fast." Mara nodded. "Then we hit them before they know we exist." The prototype surged forward, gliding between asteroids with unnatural speed. Its black hull reflected the red glow of the enemy fleet. Energy beams flared from its sides, cutting down smaller ships like fire through dry grass. Mara's heart pounded as the battle began again, more intense than before. "Watch the left flank," shouted one of the soldiers. "They're trying to surround us." The prototype twisted and dove, dodging massive blasts that could shatter mountains. Each maneuver was precise, almost alive, as if the machine understood Mara's intentions before she even spoke them. Suddenly, a massive shockwave rocked the ship. Mara slammed herself against the console, feeling the prototype shudder. The Empire had deployed something new, an enormous dreadnought, far larger than any ship she had seen. Its energy cannons glowed like molten suns, and its hull radiated deadly heat. "Target that ship," Mara shouted. All fire concentrated. The crew responded instantly, guiding the prototype to strike. Energy beams pierced the dreadnought's shields, but it barely flinched. Mara's stomach twisted. This was beyond anything they had faced before. "Prototype adaptive mode engaged," her engineer reported, his voice tense but excited. "It's analyzing weaknesses, calculating." Mara held her breath. Slowly, impossibly, the prototype shifted its shape. Panels and weapons extended, revealing hidden cannons and energy emitters. The dreadnought fired again, but this time, the prototype absorbed the blasts, redirecting the energy back. The massive ship trembled as its own fire turned against it. Then came the explosion. A brilliant, blinding flash lit the darkness, followed by silence. Mara exhaled, her hands trembling slightly. One enemy ship destroyed, but the fleet still pressed in from all sides. A sudden alert rang through the ship. Unknown vessel approaching fast. Signature, human. Mara froze. She had not expected anyone else. The new ship emerged from the shadows, smaller than the prototype but sleek, fast, and deadly. Its pilot hailed them immediately. "This is Lieutenant Kale," came the voice. "We've been tracking your engagement. You're not alone anymore. Humanity has allies ready to fight." Relief washed over Mara. "We could use every hand we can get," she said. "The Empire won't stop." Kale's ship dove into battle, striking with perfect timing. Together, they cut through the Empire fleet, their combined attacks precise and relentless. Mara realized something incredible. Humans had been underestimated for too long. Not only were they survivors, but they were fighters, clever and adaptive. But even as victory seemed near, Mara felt a chill. The Empire's admiral, Zorak, had survived. He would not allow this humiliation to go unpunished. Somewhere in the vastness of space, a trap was being prepared, one that could crush them all. Mara's mind raced with plans and possibilities. They had won the first battles, but the war had just begun. Humanity was awakening, but the Empire would not yield. And as the stars glittered coldly above, she whispered to herself, "We fight not for glory, but for survival. And we will rise." The prototype glowed with energy, ready for whatever came next. Mara's eyes met her crew's. Fear was there, but so was determination. They had seen the Empire's power, and now, they had seen what humans could do when pushed to the edge. And in that darkness, as enemy ships regrouped and new threats approached, a legend of humanity's strength, cunning, and courage began to grow. A legend that would echo through the stars, a warning to any who dared underestimate the forgotten species. The Empire's remnants retreated, but only for a moment. Mara knew better than to trust their temporary silence. Somewhere in the dark reaches of space, Admiral Zorak's mind churned with revenge. Humanity had struck first, yes, but the Empire's wrath would be swift and merciless. "Status?" Mara asked, scanning the starfield. "All reinforcements accounted for," her engineer replied. "Kale's squad is holding, but sensors show multiple fleets converging from 3 different systems. They're coordinating. This is no longer a strike, they're hunting us." Mara's grip tightened on the console. "Then we lead them into the trap. We'll fight smart, not just hard." Kale's voice crackled through the comms. "I follow your lead, Captain. Let's show them why humans are not to be underestimated." The prototype hummed softly, almost purring. Mara could feel it. It was alive, understanding the stakes, ready for the battle ahead. Their plan was risky. They would lure the Empire into a narrow asteroid corridor near the outer rim. The corridor was tight, filled with massive floating rocks and jagged debris. The Empire's huge ships would have to navigate carefully, slowing their advance. Mara hoped that would give them the advantage. As they approached, Mara could see the first signs of the trap working. Enemy ships slowed, their energy signatures flickering as they adjusted to avoid collision with the massive asteroids. Mara's heart pounded. This was the moment where courage and cunning would be tested. "Prototype, ready for full attack mode," she commanded. The machine shifted, panels and weapons extending, glowing with deadly precision. Beams of energy flashed in the darkness, slicing through the asteroid field, creating barriers and hazards for the pursuing fleet. Explosions echoed faintly in the void as smaller Empire ships were torn apart before they could react. Kale's squad struck with perfect timing, weaving between asteroids and striking vulnerable points in the Empire's hulls. Mara watched, her pulse quickening. Humans, underestimated for centuries, were now rewriting the rules of engagement. Then it happened. A massive explosion rocked the corridor. One of the Empire's dreadnoughts collided with an asteroid, tearing a gaping hole in its hull. Mara felt a thrill of both fear and triumph. Space was merciless, but they had learned to use it against the enemy. "Brace for counterattack," shouted her engineer. "They're not giving up." From the shadows, a new wave emerged. This one was different. Sleek, fast, and deadly, the ships moved as if controlled by a single mind. Mara recognized the signature immediately. "It's the Shadow Squadron," she said grimly. "Elite Strike Force. They're here to kill us." The corridor became a deadly maze. The prototype twisted, dodged, and fired, its energy beams tearing through the Shadow Squadron one by one. Kale's squad moved in perfect sync, using every asteroid for cover. Mara felt a surge of pride. Humans fought not just with firepower, but with intelligence and instinct. But even as they fought, Mara sensed something worse. Zorak himself had arrived. His flagship, massive and black, moved like a predator at the end of the corridor. Its energy weapons glowed red, ready to unleash destruction on anything in its path. "Prepare for the impossible," Mara whispered. She knew this battle would decide everything. Humanity had struck first and clever, but the Empire would not stop. And yet, she felt a strange confidence. The forgotten prototype was more than a machine, it was hope made real. The flagship fired, red beams slicing through space. The corridor lit up with deadly energy as the prototype deflected and countered. Explosions shook the asteroids, sending debris flying in all directions. Mara's hands moved quickly over the controls, guiding the prototype through the chaos. Kale's squad fought fiercely, but one of his ships took a direct hit. Mara watched in horror as it spun out of control, breaking apart in a blaze of fire. "No!" she shouted. The loss stung, but there was no time to grieve. Every second counted. Then the prototype unleashed its hidden weapon. Energy surged from its core, expanding outward in a controlled pulse. The shockwave ripped through the enemy formation, tearing apart ships before they could react. The flagship reeled, its massive hull cracked and burning. For a moment, silence fell. Mara's crew held their breath. Slowly, the remaining enemy ships began to retreat, their formations broken and shattered. Humans had won again, but at a cost. Kale hailed them. "We've held them back for now. But they'll regroup. Zorak will not forget this." Mara nodded, her eyes scanning the remnants of the battle. "No," she said softly. "And neither will we. Humanity has awakened. And next time, we strike even harder." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Mara felt a quiet determination. The Empire had underestimated humans for centuries, but the forgotten prototype had shown the universe a truth that could not be ignored. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was cunning, brave, and unstoppable when pushed to the edge. Somewhere deep in space, a legend was growing. A legend of humans who fought not for glory, not for conquest, but for survival, and who would rise again, no matter the cost. The victory was short-lived. Mara knew that the Empire never forgot. Somewhere beyond the star-streaked horizon, Zorak's fleet was regrouping, preparing for a counterattack that would make the previous battles look like a skirmish. The corridor of shattered asteroids and burning wreckage was a silent warning to anyone who followed. Humans were not to be trifled with. Mara's crew moved quickly, repairing the prototype's minor damages and tending to Kale's squad. The smaller human fleet had survived, but barely. Every victory had a cost. "Captain," Kale said, scanning the holographic displays. "We've detected a fleet moving faster than anything we've seen. It's engineered differently. Its weapons, shields. It's unlike the rest of the Empire's ships." Mara's eyes narrowed. Zorak isn't sending just ships. He's sending a weapon. Something designed to end us. The prototype pulsed with energy, as if sensing the danger. Mara placed her hand on the console. "Then we face it head-on. Humanity doesn't hide. We fight." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing to intercept the incoming force. When they arrived, the sight was terrifying. Ships the size of moons loomed in formation, their hulls black as void, weapons glowing like dying suns. Mara's stomach twisted. The Empire had escalated beyond anything she had imagined. "Stay calm," she whispered to her crew. "Our goal is survival, and to make them regret underestimating us." The first wave struck. The prototype darted through the chaos, weaving between enormous energy blasts. Kale's squad fought alongside them, picking off smaller ships while Mara focused on the massive vessels. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had seen, light and fire in the darkness, explosions painting the void with fleeting colors. Suddenly, one of the massive ships unleashed a weapon that pulsed with dark energy. The shockwave ripped through space, throwing human ships off course. Mara gritted her teeth. This was no ordinary battle. It was annihilation versus survival. Prototype, engage adaptive shields, her engineer yelled. Energy flared as the machine absorbed the pulse, redirecting it in a controlled arc. The dreadnought trembled, but the Empire's weapon was relentless. Mara could feel the stress on the hull, the strain on the prototype systems. Kale's squad tried to flank the massive ships, but one of their vessels was destroyed instantly by a precise strike. Mara felt a pang of guilt. Each life lost was heavy, but they could not afford hesitation. Humanity's survival depended on every action they took. Then, as the Empire's fleet pressed harder, the prototype revealed another secret. From its core, energy beams shot outward, forming an almost impenetrable barrier that pushed enemy ships back. The maneuver shocked the Empire. Their coordination faltered, their massive weapons missing targets. Mara's heart leapt. "Push forward," she shouted. "We strike now." The human fleet surged with the prototype leading the charge. Energy beams tore through enemy hulls, explosions lighting the void like miniature suns. Mara felt a rush of triumph. But it was tempered with fear. The Empire still had Zorak's flagship, and it loomed at the center of the fleet, radiating power. A sudden alert rang through the console. "Captain, multiple ships detected, approaching from above the plain. Cloaked. Unknown origin." Mara froze. Cloaked ships meant surprise attacks, traps designed to destroy even the strongest defenses. She knew they couldn't survive another ambush if they were caught unprepared. "Activate countermeasures. Keep shields strong," Mara commanded. The prototype shifted, extending energy arrays to detect hidden threats. Slowly, faint outlines appeared, shadowy ships weaving into attack formations. Mara's mind raced. Zorak had more tricks, and they had only just begun. Kale's voice crackled urgently. "They're coming in fast. We can't hold them off for long." Mara's eyes hardened. "Then we hit harder. Humanity doesn't break, we adapt. We fight smarter than they do." The prototype surged forward, blasting through the cloaked ships before they could reach firing range. Kale's squad followed, striking in perfect harmony. The tide began to turn, but the flagship still awaited, its massive weapons trained on the human fleet. Mara knew that this was the real test. Not the smaller battles, not the first victories, but the moment when humanity faced the Empire's ultimate weapon. And when that moment came, she would need to be smarter, braver, and faster than ever before. The void was silent for a heartbeat, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Then, energy flared across the battlefield, and the fight escalated into chaos once more. Humans were fighting not just for victory, but for survival, and the legend of their courage was beginning to echo across the galaxy. Somewhere, deep in the Empire's command, Zorak's eyes narrowed. The humans had survived his first wave of attacks, but the war was far from over. Mara and her crew did not know it yet, but the coming days would push them to the very limits of endurance, skill, and courage. And the forgotten prototype, humanity's secret weapon, was about to reveal even more of its terrifying power. The calm before the storm was gone. Mara's crew felt it in their bones. The Empire's ultimate strike was coming. Zorak's flagship, a towering black vessel bristling with weapons, moved like a shadow of doom across the battlefield. Every sensor, every calculation warned of the destruction it could unleash. Humanity had survived so far, but this was the true test. Mara gripped the console, her knuckles white. "Everyone ready?" she asked, though her voice was steady. Inside, her heart thundered. She had trained for battles, but nothing could prepare anyone for the power of the Empire's hidden weapons. Kale's squad aligned beside the prototype, forming a human wall against the approaching storm. "We're with you, Captain," he said. "Let's show them what humans can do." The flagship's cannons charged, glowing like molten suns. Energy pulses began to ripple through space, warping the void itself. Mara felt the vibrations through the prototype's hull. Every system hummed with tension, ready to react at a moment's notice. "Engage full shields," she ordered. The prototype's energy flared outward, forming a glowing barrier around them. Sparks and debris danced as the first massive blast struck, and held. The human fleet counterattacked, smaller ships darting in and out of fire, hitting weak points on the massive vessels. Mara's heart leapt with every successful strike, but the flagship's shadow remained overwhelming. Zorak was not just a commander, he was a force of nature, precise and ruthless. Then came the second wave. Cloaked ships emerged from the void, their weapons unseen until it was too late. One struck Kale's flagship, sending it spinning. Mara's stomach tightened. The cost of each battle was heavy, and time was running short. "Prototype, adaptive strike mode," she shouted. Energy erupted from the core, spreading in waves that destabilized the enemy ships. Their formations faltered. Mara felt a surge of hope, but it was fleeting. The flagship fired again, and the shockwave shattered part of the asteroid belt nearby, sending debris raining down like a meteor storm. The prototype twisted and darted between the falling rocks, each movement precise, calculated. Mara's mind raced, calculating angles, timing, and energy outputs. Humanity had been underestimated for centuries. Now, every move was a statement. We will survive, no matter the cost. Kale's voice broke through the chaos. "Captain, the flagship's shields are regenerating faster than our attacks." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then we hit the source. Focus everything on the reactor core. If it goes down, the flagship goes down." The human fleet formed a pincer maneuver. The prototype led the charge, beams of energy tearing through enemy shields, carving a path toward the heart of the flagship. Explosions lit the void like artificial stars, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The flagship roared, unleashing a weapon of pure energy that split the vacuum like lightning. Mara felt the prototype shudder, the hull glowing red under stress. For a heartbeat, everything seemed lost. Then, the prototype pulsed, adaptive mode fully engaged. It absorbed the energy, redirected it into a concentrated beam aimed at the flagship's core. The explosion was blinding. A massive shockwave threw debris in every direction. Mara's crew held tight, but the sight outside the viewports was breathtaking. The flagship fractured, massive sections tearing apart and drifting into the void. Zorak's voice crackled through the comms, filled with fury and disbelief. "This cannot be," he shouted. "Humans, impossible." But silence followed. The Empire's flagship was gone. The remaining ships, smaller and disorganized, began to retreat. Humanity had won another battle, against impossible odds, against a force that had once seemed unstoppable. Mara exhaled, feeling the weight of the moment. Her crew cheered softly, exhaustion and relief mixing in equal measure. Kale's ship floated beside them, battered but intact. "Captain," Kale said, voice shaking slightly. "We did it. We survived. The Empire, they can't underestimate us again." Mara shook her head, her eyes scanning the wreckage of the battlefield. "No," she said quietly. "They will come back. They always do. But now, they know humans are not weak. They are clever, adaptable, and dangerous when cornered. And they will fight for every inch of their existence." The prototype glowed softly, as if acknowledging her words. It had led humanity to victory once again, proving the impossible was possible. And as Mara looked out at the stars, now glittering with both destruction and hope, she realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not just in machines or weapons, it was in courage, intelligence, and the refusal to give up. Somewhere in the galaxy, a legend was growing, echoing from one system to the next. The forgotten prototype had awakened humanity, but the story had only begun. And Mara knew, deep down, that the Empire's next move would be even more dangerous. Yet, for the first time in centuries, humans had tasted true victory, and nothing could take that away. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and Mara whispered to herself, "We fight, we survive, and we rise. The universe will remember humanity, forever." The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The remnants of the Empire were regrouping, but humanity had tasted victory. Mara knew the battles so far were just the beginning. The Empire would strike back harder, smarter, and with fury unmatched. The forgotten prototype had proven its power, but now, the humans themselves had to rise to match it. "Captain," Kale said, scanning the void. "They're moving again. Entire fleets from 3 neighboring systems are converging on our position. This is no random pursuit, they're organizing for a full-scale assault." Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we fight smarter. Not just with firepower, but with strategy. Humanity doesn't run. Humanity fights." The human fleet, now reinforced with ships from scattered colonies, readied for battle. Every vessel was patched, armed, and ready to defend the prototype at all costs. Mara looked over her crew. Fear flickered in their eyes, but determination burned brighter. "Prototype," she said, placing her hands on the console, "lead the charge. Show them what humans can do when pushed to the edge." The prototype hummed, responding instantly, gliding forward with lethal grace. Its energy panels extended like wings of light, ready to strike. The human fleet followed in perfect formation, their movements precise and calculated. This time, they would not just react, they would dominate. The first wave of the Empire hit with relentless force. Massive dreadnoughts and elite strike crafts charged, weapons glowing red with deadly energy. The human fleet moved with practiced coordination, weaving between asteroid fields, using debris as cover while firing precise attacks. Mara's heart pounded with the rhythm of battle. "Focus fire on the lead dreadnought," she shouted. "Take out their command ship first." Kale maneuvered his squad with deadly accuracy, striking weak points in the Empire's hulls. Explosions erupted around them as smaller enemy ships attempted to flank, only to be cut down by human ingenuity. The battlefield was chaos, but the humans thrived in it, turning desperation into a weapon. Suddenly, a massive shockwave rolled through space. One of the Empire's dreadnoughts unleashed a new weapon, a gravity bomb, capable of crushing ships like paper. Mara's stomach tightened. The fleet had seconds to react. "Prototype, counter-gravity shields," she ordered. Energy flared outward, bending the field around the human ships. The bomb's force hit, but the shields held. Kale's ship rocked under the pressure, but they survived. Humanity had adapted again. Then, the flagship appeared, the new command ship, even larger and deadlier than Zorak's previous vessel. Its energy radiated through the void, cutting through sensors and shielding the rest of the fleet. Mara's crew gasped at the sight. This was the Empire's ultimate gamble. "They're betting everything on this one strike," Mara muttered. "Then we'll prove them wrong." The human fleet split, flanking the flagship from multiple angles. The prototype led the charge, firing concentrated energy beams that tore through enemy shields. Smaller ships exploited every opening, striking the hull with surgical precision. Explosions lit the darkness like fireworks, illuminating the courage and defiance of humans fighting for survival. Kale's comm crackled urgently. "Captain, they're deploying a boarding squad. If they reach the prototype, we're done." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Then we make sure they never get close. All units, intercept." The crew moved like a single entity. Human soldiers in smaller craft struck the boarding team before they could attach. Mara guided the prototype in tight, impossible maneuvers, making it untouchable, while unleashing energy blasts to push the enemy back. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. The tide shifted. The Empire's massive fleet faltered under the relentless human attacks. Ships were destroyed, retreating, or left powerless. Mara realized something extraordinary. Humans were not just surviving. They were winning, against impossible odds, by being smarter, faster, and more adaptable. Finally, a message came through the Empire's comms. Zorak's voice, sharp and furious. Humans! Impossible! You will not survive this war. Mara smiled grimly. We already have, she said. And we're only getting started. The battle ended not with a single explosion, but with a retreat. The Empire had underestimated humans for centuries, and now they had paid the price. Mara's fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. Every life lost, every scar on the prototype, every burn mark on a hull was a testament to human courage and resilience. Kale's ship floated beside the prototype. Captain, we did it. We survived. We fought, and we proved something today. Mara looked at the stars, still glowing with distant light and the memory of battle. Yes, she said softly. We proved that humans are more than survivors. We are fighters. Clever, brave, and unstoppable when cornered. And the Empire will never forget it. The prototype pulsed with energy, a symbol of humanity's ingenuity and determination. Mara felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had awakened, and no force in the galaxy could ignore them again. Somewhere far away, across the stars, the legend of humans began to echo. Not as weaklings, not as prey, but as a species that refused to bow, refused to surrender, and would rise again and again, against any empire foolish enough to underestimate them. The galaxy was tense, holding its breath. Mara knew that the Empire was desperate now. Zorak had lost fleets, pride, and most of his command structure. But the final secret remained, something so devastating that if unleashed, it could erase humanity entirely. Mara's crew felt it too. The moment of truth had arrived. Captain, Kale said, scanning the void. Sensors detect an anomaly. Something massive, something hidden, heading straight for the prototype. Mara's eyes narrowed. Then we prepare for the impossible. The anomaly appeared, a colossal ship, unlike anything in the Empire or human fleet. Its hull was dark and jagged, pulsing with strange energy. Mara's chest tightened. The Dark Core, she whispered. Legend spoke of it, a weapon the Empire had hidden for centuries, designed to annihilate entire star systems. Full battle stations, she ordered. Prototype, we'll need everything you have. Humanity is not giving up today. The Dark Core advanced with terrifying speed. Its energy shields absorbed every human attack without faltering. Kale's squad darted in, striking weak points, but the ship adapted instantly, shrugging off damage. Mara realized this battle was different. No strategy would work alone. They would need courage, cunning, and every bit of the prototype's secret power. The prototype hummed, its energy growing brighter, responding to Mara's will. Systems activated that had never been used in combat. Panels shifted, revealing hidden weapons, glowing cores, and energy cannons capable of tearing through the Dark Core's defenses. Mara took a deep breath. Now, she said, we strike together. The human fleet launched a coordinated attack. Kale's squad targeted energy conduits, smaller ships sabotaging shields, while the prototype focused on the ship's core. The Dark Core fired back, immense beams of energy slicing through space, destroying asteroids and smaller human vessels. Explosions lit the void, each one shaking the prototype violently. Mara held tight, guiding it through debris and fire, every move precise. Fear pressed against her chest, but she ignored it. Humanity's survival was more important than any single life. Then, something unexpected happened. The Dark Core's energy pulsed erratically, as if recognizing the prototype's power. Mara realized the truth. The forgotten prototype was not just a weapon, it was designed to counter the Dark Core. Humanity's secret weapon had been waiting for this moment for decades, hidden until the right people came along. Now it's you and me, Mara whispered to the prototype. Its energy flared in response, pulsing like a heartbeat. The final assault began. The prototype unleashed concentrated beams from every angle, striking the Dark Core's hull. Energy shields flickered, then collapsed. Mara directed the fleet to attack weak points simultaneously. Explosions tore through the massive ship, sending fragments drifting into space. Zorak's voice crackled over the Empire's comms, filled with rage and disbelief. Impossible! Humans! You cannot win. Mara's eyes glinted. Watch us. With a final surge, the prototype fired a massive energy pulse directly into the dark core's core. A blinding explosion filled the void, throwing debris and energy waves across the battlefield. Mara felt the prototype shudder, systems overloading from the effort. She gritted her teeth, holding steady. Humanity's fate rested on this moment. When the light faded, the dark core was gone. The Empire's remaining ships, leaderless and broken, fled into the void. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed against impossible odds. Mara's crew cheered, exhausted and elated. Kale's ship floated beside them, battered but intact. "We did it," he said, voice trembling. "We actually did it." Mara gazed at the stars, feeling the weight of their journey. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "The galaxy now knows what humans are capable of. We fight not for glory, but for survival, and for every life that depends on us." The prototype pulsed softly, a reminder of humanity's ingenuity and courage. It had been a forgotten dream, a hidden weapon, but it had proven that humans were not weak. They were clever, brave, and unstoppable when pushed to the edge. Somewhere across the stars, whispers of humanity's rise began. Planets, colonies, even distant systems spoke of the humans who had faced annihilation and emerged victorious. The Empire, once confident and cruel, would remember this day forever. Mara looked around at her crew, their faces lit by the glow of the prototype. "We've shown them that humans are more than survivors. We are fighters, inventors, and protectors. We will rise again, and again, no matter the odds." The void stretched endlessly before them, silent but alive with possibilities. Humanity had faced the darkness and refused to fall. And as Mara whispered into the stillness, she knew one truth. The stars may have seemed cold and indifferent, but now they carried the echo of a species that refused to bow. Humanity had awakened, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.